Every camera we've talked about so far, the one on your street, the one in your HOA, the one feeding a nationwide search network, didn't appear out of nowhere. It's the newest branch on a tree that started growing 25 years ago, planted in a very specific kind of soil: fear. This is the story of how that tree grew. Not a conspiracy theory, a paper trail. Laws, budgets, and court rulings, all public record. And running underneath every single step of it is the same quiet trade. People were told to give up a little privacy for a little more safety. Step by step, they did. And at the end of it, what they got was neither. On September 11th, 2001, the country was attacked. And in the weeks that followed, one word became the organizing principle of American government: terrorism. Not crime, not violence, terrorism. A word that, once attached to a policy, made almost any expansion of power feel not just acceptable, but necessary. Congress moved fast. Just 6 weeks after the attacks, with almost no debate and no committee hearings on the Senate version, lawmakers passed the United States of America Patriot Act. It gave federal agencies sweeping new authority to search business and library records without the target's knowledge, to conduct secret sneak and peek searches of private property, and to expand wiretap and surveillance powers that had nothing to do with the hijackers who were already dead. And that's chapter one. The pattern is already set: a moment of real fear, a law written in advance and waiting for its moment, and a public given almost no time to ask what is actually said. Give up a little privacy, get a little safety. That was the deal. And here's what most people don't know: what happened at the exact same time. Days after the attacks, before the Patriot Act was even signed, President Bush issued a secret order authorizing the NSA to conduct electronic surveillance on U.S. soil without ever going through the court that exists specifically to approve that kind of surveillance. Nobody voted on that. Nobody debated it in public. It stayed secret for 4 years until the New York Times broke the story in December of 2005. Even then, it took years more before the legal reckoning came in. In 2020, a federal appeals court ruled that program unconstitutional and found that the intelligence officials who had publicly defended it had not told the truth. 19 years between the secret order and a court calling it what it was: give up a little privacy, get a little safety. Except this time, you weren't even told the deal was happening. In 2002 and 2003, the government didn't just pass laws, it built an entire new agency to run this apparatus: the Department of Homeland Security. They were sold as counterterrorism infrastructure. Congress made that official in 2007, formally directing DHS to build out the Fusion Center network nationwide. And by 2018, there were nearly 80 of them operating across the country. And here's where the farce starts to show through the public safety framing. Because these centers were built, funded, and justified in the name of stopping the next 9/11. What they were actually used for tells a different story. See, give up a little privacy, get a little safety. Except the machine being built wasn't really pointed where they said it was pointed. In the fall and winter of 2011, DHS funded fusion centers ran an hour by hour surveillance operation, not against a terrorist cell, but against the Occupy Wall Street movement. A civil liberties group later obtained 4,000 pages of government documents proving it. City police chiefs using an anti terrorism intelligence center to produce regular reports on Occupy activity. A regional intelligence center in Boston cataloging everything from student organizing to political lectures. Even the Pentagon working through fusion centers to help track the movement. That's the moment the mask comes off. Infrastructure built and funded in the name of stopping foreign terrorists was, within a decade, being pointed at American citizens engaged in constitutionally protected protests. Researchers have documented the same pattern at the 2008 Republican National Convention and beyond. Fusion centers investigating activists or protesters engaged in legal domestic activities that have nothing to do with the stated mission of combating terrorism. This is where the word terrorism quietly split in two. There was the foreign version, the one used to justify the budget. And there was a domestic version, applied not to people planning violence, but to people organizing, marching, and speaking. Same word, same funding stream, different target. Give up a little privacy, get a little safety. Except safety turned out to mean safety for the people in power from the people questioning them. In 2013, a national security agency contractor named Edward Snowden gave the world proof of just how far this had gone. Bulk collection of American phone records, a program called PRISM pulling data from major tech companies, surveillance operating at a scale intelligence officials had spent over a decade publicly denying. Once again, none of it had been voted on in any meaningful, informed way. The scale of it was classified specifically so that no public debate could happen before it existed. Give up a little privacy, get a little safety. Except the safety being built required hiding its own size from the people paying for it. While the surveillance side of the story was unfolding, a parallel track was moving just as fast. The hardware of war coming home to local police departments. Through the Pentagon's so-called 1033 program, created by the 1997 National Defense Authorization Act, but expanded significantly after 9/11, billions of dollars in surplus military equipment moved into local law enforcement. Armored vehicles, night vision gear, weapons built for combat zones, not neighborhoods. Alongside 1033, separate DHS grant programs built explicitly for homeland security and counterterrorism sent tens of billions more to state and local police with few strings attached. Then, in 2014, after the police killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, the country watched footage of officers in that same military gear facing down protesters in the street. And only then did most Americans learn where that equipment had come from. Give up a little privacy. And in this case, a little distance between police and military too. Get a little safety. Except what showed up on your streets when you called it in wasn't built to keep a neighborhood safe. It was built for a battlefield. And here's the part that closes the loop. The same federal grant programs, the Department of Justice Burn Justice Assistance Grant Program and DHS Homeland Security grants, built and justified in the name of fighting terrorism, are, right now, one of the primary ways local police departments pay for automated license plate reader systems. Reporting has documented small towns getting their first year of flock service covered almost entirely by a Homeland Security or Justice grant with the city only realizing after the free year runs out that they're now locked into tens of thousands of dollars a year in ongoing costs and locked into a data sharing network built on top of infrastructure that traces straight back to the fusion centers and grant streams this chapter started with. 25 years ago, the government told the country, "Give us this power and we will keep you safe from terrorists." Today, the direct descendant of that same money and the same legal architecture is a camera on your street corner, run by a private company, feeding a searchable national database, sold to your city council as a tool against car theft. That's the timeline. A law passed in 6 weeks. A secret surveillance order that took 19 years to be called illegal. An agency and a network of fusion centers built to stop terrorists that spent 2011 watching protesters instead. A whistleblower who had to break the law to tell you the scale of what was already happening to you. Military hardware that came home before anyone asked why. And now, the same funding pipeline still running, buying the cameras this whole series has been about. At every single step, the offer was the same. Give up a piece of your privacy and get safety in return. But look at the actual record, chapter by chapter, and ask yourself honestly, where in that timeline did the safety actually show up? Next time, we take everything we've laid out here and follow it all the way to where it lands today. Who this apparatus is actually used against, and what it costs the people caught underneath it.